What if the key to transforming your entire life isn't out there somewhere, but already inside you, just waiting to be switched on? In this video, we're diving into the groundbreaking teachings of Dr. Ernest Holmes, who discovered a powerful truth: you have a direct connection to a divine energy source that can help you manifest your deepest desires, heal your life, and awaken your true potential. No fluff, just real practical methods that you can start using today. Stay with me until the end, because I'll be guiding you through a simple yet powerful technique that could literally change the way you experience reality. If you've ever felt stuck, disconnected, or like your prayers go unanswered, this video is for you. And hey, if you're passionate about unlocking your inner power and exploring the deeper connection between science, spirit, and self, don't forget to hit subscribe. Let's grow on this journey together. Dr. Ernest Holmes, the founder of the Science of Mind philosophy, proposed a radical but profoundly empowering idea that each of us already possesses a direct line to an infinite source of wisdom, creativity, and power. This isn't a metaphor or poetic symbolism. Holmes believed this was a literal spiritual truth, that we are not separate from the divine, but actual expressions of it. Imagine for a moment that your mind is like a lamp. The electricity representing divine intelligence and energy is already flowing. The only issue is that most people never learn how to flip their own switch. This is the first truth Holmes emphasized: you are not disconnected and you are not broken. The divine power you seek isn't locked behind rituals or reserved for a chosen few. It is already within you, embedded in your consciousness. Holmes called this our God-given power, a spiritual inheritance that doesn't need to be earned, only recognized and activated. The problem is not access, but awareness. Most of us go through life feeling powerless, searching for answers outside ourselves, when in truth the source of transformation has always been internal. Once you understand this, the way you see your life begins to shift. You stop begging the universe for change and start becoming a conscious participant in creation. Holmes likened the divine mind to an infinite energy grid, and each person is like a plugged-in lamp. However, just being plugged in isn't enough. You have to take conscious action to activate that energy. This brings us to the second major concept: flipping your mental switch. Activating your divine power isn't about waiting for a mystical sign or supernatural event. It's about intentional focus. Holmes taught that you engage with this power through conscious thought and visualization. You use your mind to focus, direct, and amplify the divine energy that's already flowing within you. Think of it like turning on a light in a dark room. The power is there, the wires are connected, you just have to make the decision to flip the switch. So how do you actually do this? Holmes created a technique that he called mental visualization, a practice that allows you to deliberately access and direct this inner force. Start by closing your eyes and taking a deep breath. Picture a switch in your mind, a simple light switch. Now imagine yourself reaching out and flipping it on. As you do this, visualize a warm golden light rushing into your body, filling every cell with power, clarity, and peace. This light isn't just imagination. It's symbolic of your conscious connection to divine energy. By practicing this visualization regularly, you start to condition your mind to recognize and engage with this energy more consistently. And here's the key insight. Holmes discovered what you believe and emotionally engage with during this process directly influences what you experience in your outer world. When you repeatedly visualize yourself as connected, powerful, and divinely guided, you're not just changing your mindset, you're changing the energetic signal you send out into the universe. You begin to shift from reaction to creation. Opportunities, insights, and synchronicities begin to align in ways that feel almost magical, yet are deeply grounded in the principle that thoughts are creative forces. Unlike some self-help trends that suggest quick fixes or superficial affirmations, Holmes grounded his teachings in both spiritual insight and disciplined mental practice. He was adamant this isn't wishful thinking. It's a mental discipline, a spiritual workout. Just as a muscle grows stronger with regular training, your spiritual awareness deepens each time you engage in this visualization. Over time, the gap between what you desire and what you experience begins to close. What makes this practice even more powerful is its simplicity. You don't need special equipment or years of training. All you need is willingness, consistency, and the courage to believe that your thoughts matter. And as Holmes often reminded his students, this isn't about forcing anything to happen. It's about aligning yourself with a higher frequency of awareness, one that naturally attracts clarity, solutions, and growth. So why does this matter? Because most people are walking around with this light switch inside them, completely unaware of its existence. They're wired into the grid of divine intelligence, but they live in darkness, feeling powerless and reactive. But once you learn how to flip your switch and truly activate the God-given power within you, you become a conscious creator of your life. This is not philosophy for the bookshelf. It's a practice for daily life. Start your day with this mental exercise. Use it when you're stressed, lost, or uncertain. The more you do it, the more natural it becomes. And gradually, you'll begin to notice the shift, not just in how you think, but in what begins to show up around you. That's the promise of activating your inner divine power. Not magical thinking, but a deliberate, practical path to transformation. One thought, one breath, one switch at a time. Dr. Ernest Holmes understood that discovering divine power within us is just the starting point. To truly live from that power, we must anchor it with deliberate, consistent daily rituals. He emphasized that spiritual growth isn't about dramatic moments of enlightenment. It's about small, repeated actions that strengthen our alignment with the divine mind. The foundation of Holmes's practical spirituality rests on three simple but transformative disciplines: meditation, gratitude, and affirmations. These are not religious rituals, but tools for recalibrating our thoughts, emotions, and energy to match the life we desire. Meditation in Holmes's approach is less about escaping the world and more about engaging it with clarity and presence. You don't need to sit for hours in silence. Even 5 to 10 minutes each morning can create a powerful shift. Find a quiet spot, close your eyes, and take deep, calming breaths. Rather than emptying the mind, focus it by repeating a simple truth silently, like, "I am connected to infinite wisdom." Let that idea anchor you. As thoughts come, let them pass without judgment and return your focus to your breath and affirmation. Over time, this practice trains your awareness to stay rooted in your spiritual source, no matter what distractions arise. Immediately following meditation, Holmes encouraged turning to gratitude. This isn't just saying thank you, it's a process of feeling gratitude deeply and fully, even before anything changes externally. Why? Because gratitude shifts your vibrational state. When you focus on what's working, no matter how small, your energy aligns with abundance. Try listing 3 things you're grateful for each day. It might be a moment of silence before the world wakes up, a loving friend, or the chance to start anew. What matters is that you pause and feel that thankfulness in your body. Holmes believed that gratitude opens the heart, clears the mind, and signals to the universe that you're ready to receive more of what aligns with joy. The third pillar Holmes promoted is affirmation, a spoken or silent declaration of spiritual truth. These aren't vague, feel-good phrases, but clear statements of alignment. For example, there is a power for good in the universe, and I am using it, or divine intelligence guides me today. The goal is not to convince yourself of something untrue, but to claim a truth you're learning to embody. Speak your affirmations out loud if possible. Let them become part of your morning rhythm. Over time, these words begin to shape your thoughts, and your thoughts begin to shape your reality. All 3 practices, meditation, gratitude, and affirmation, form a morning ritual that's simple, flexible, and powerful. It doesn't require a perfect setting or special tools, just intention and consistency. Holmes taught that even 10 minutes a day of spiritual alignment can set the tone for everything that follows. When you begin the day connected to the divine, life starts to respond differently. You make clearer choices, you notice more opportunities, you feel more supported and less reactive. Building on this daily foundation, Holmes introduced a powerful extension, visualization, as a form of prayer. He argued that while words are one way to communicate with the universe, images and emotions are even more effective. Why? Because the universe doesn't respond primarily to language, it responds to vibration. And nothing shapes your vibrational output more than emotionally charged mental imagery. When you visualize your desires as already real with conviction and feeling, you're sending out a potent creative signal. Holmes made a crucial distinction here. Visualization is not passive daydreaming, it's active co-creation. Let's say you desire better health. You don't just see yourself healthy, you feel it. Imagine waking up full of energy, taking a deep breath of fresh air, moving with ease. Hear the sound, see the details, feel the joy in your body. The clearer and more emotionally vivid the image, the stronger the signal to the divine mind. Try this simple process each day after your morning ritual. Close your eyes and visualize one specific desire. Keep it realistic enough that your mind can grasp it, but expansive enough to inspire emotion. Engage your senses. What does it smell like, sound like? How do you feel in that moment? Let your entire being experience the scene. Then sit for a few extra seconds and feel gratitude as if it's already happened. This emotional layer is what activates your subconscious and aligns your energy with your goal. Consistency is key. Visualization is not a one-time fix. It's a mental discipline. Holmes compared it to planting a seed. You wouldn't dig up the seed every day to check on it. You water it, give it sunlight, and trust the process. Visualization is the watering of your intentions. The more you do it, the more aligned your subconscious becomes with your conscious desires, and the faster reality begins to mirror your inner world. One of the most overlooked truths in Holmes's teachings is that the universe doesn't distinguish between big or small manifestations. It only responds to frequency. A parking space and a soulmate are equal in energetic terms. What matters is the clarity of your intention and the emotional resonance behind it. When you visualize with conviction, not desperation, you move into a receptive state. You stop chasing and start attracting. Holmes also stressed that visualization is most effective when done without tension. This means detaching from the how and trusting in the unfolding. You're not trying to force the outcome, you're aligning with the version of yourself who already lives it. That's the essence of faith in action. You become the person your vision requires, and the outer world begins to reflect that transformation. In essence, daily rituals create stability. Visualization adds direction. Together, they form a spiritual practice that keeps you centered, clear, and empowered. This is not about spiritual bypassing or pretending everything is perfect. It's about creating a state of consciousness that's resilient, creative, and connected. When you combine consistent daily practices with emotionally charged visualization, you don't just hope for change, you become the channel through which change flows. Stay with us, because in the next section, we'll reveal the emotional and energetic keys that determine how quickly and clearly your visualizations turn into lived experience. These next insights are what turn ordinary manifestations into quantum shifts. Dr. Ernest Holmes taught that while thoughts serve as the blueprint of reality, emotions are the electricity that powers the entire manifestation process. Without emotional alignment, even the clearest intentions remain dormant. This leads us to the fifth foundational principle in Holmes's teachings: aligning your emotions with your desires. He emphasized that the universe does not respond only to what we think, but more so to what we feel. Emotions are signals to the divine mind, shaping the frequency we emit. When our feelings are in harmony with what we desire, we become powerful magnets for that reality. But when we feel doubt, fear, or unworthiness, we unknowingly block the very outcomes we seek. So how do we align emotionally with our goals? Holmes suggested starting each day by emotionally embodying the reality you want to create. For instance, if your desire is to feel financially secure, don't just think about money, feel the peace, stability, and gratitude of already having it. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and immerse yourself in the feeling of being supported. This emotional state becomes the signal you send to the universe, and through the law of vibration, experiences matching that feeling begin to surface. This principle goes beyond momentary mood shifts. Holmes encouraged cultivating these emotional states throughout the day. Emotional alignment is not about avoiding challenges or suppressing negative emotions. It's about choosing how we respond. When life presents stress or setbacks, ask yourself, what emotional state would my future self already living the life I want choose in this moment? This question can be a powerful reset tool, helping you shift from reactive habits to deliberate energy alignment. Over time, this practice becomes second nature, and your dominant emotional frequency begins to naturally attract better opportunities, people, and circumstances. For this reason, Holmes saw joy, gratitude, love, and peace not as fleeting emotions, but as spiritual tools. They are bridges between the invisible and the visible, between intention and manifestation. When you consistently embody these feelings, you start to resonate with the energy of abundance, not lack, of wholeness, not incompletion. And that's when the magic of manifestation begins to accelerate. However, emotional alignment by itself isn't the full story. Holmes introduced a sixth key to unlocking divine potential, one that might seem counterintuitive, but is absolutely essential: surrender. In a culture driven by control and constant action, surrender is often misunderstood. But Holmes redefined it as an active spiritual principle. Surrender isn't giving up, it's giving over. It means releasing the obsessive grip on how, when, and in what form your desires must appear. It's trusting that the universe has a wider, wiser view than your current perspective. Surrender, as Holmes described, is not passivity. You still take inspired action, but without attachment. You plan with intention, you visualize with emotion, and then you let go of the outcome. This creates space for the divine to work through you. Often, the greatest breakthroughs happen after we release the need to control every detail. Holmes likened this to a river flowing. When you fight the current, you exhaust yourself. When you trust the current, you're carried farther with less effort. True surrender is spiritual efficiency. You can practice surrender by building a simple habit of release at the end of each day. Before bed, reflect on what you've been holding on to: stress, worry, unmet expectations. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and visualize handing these over to a higher intelligence. Imagine placing your concerns into a river or releasing them like balloons into the sky. Then affirm, I trust the process of life. I am guided, I am supported. This mental and emotional release resets your nervous system and aligns you with trust, which is one of the highest frequencies available to the human spirit. Holmes taught that surrender is especially important when facing delay or uncertainty. When things don't unfold on your timeline, the ego tends to panic, question, or grasp for control. But the soul knows that divine timing is real. Sometimes a delay is not a denial, it's a redirection towards something better. The challenge is to stay energetically open and emotionally balanced, even in the waiting. That's the true test of surrender, and the reward is often greater than you imagined. When emotional alignment and surrender work together, they create a powerful dynamic. You feel your way into your desired reality, and then you trust that it's on its way even before it arrives. You align with what you want, and you release what you don't control. This balance between intention and surrender is where manifestation accelerates. It's where effort becomes ease, and where outcomes begin to reflect the inner work you've done. Another key benefit of this approach is increased clarity. When you're emotionally aligned and spiritually surrendered, you become more sensitive to signs, synchronicities, and intuitive nudges. You begin to act not from desperation, but from inspiration. And as Holmes often said, inspired action is never wasted. Even small steps taken from an aligned state carry immense power, because they're energized by truth and supported by universal intelligence. In practice, this might look like journaling each morning to identify how you want to feel and writing a few lines about what surrender means to you today. Or during the day, if you feel yourself tensing up, pause and ask, am I trying to force something right now? Then shift into trust. This self-awareness paired with these emotional and spiritual techniques creates a living, breathing manifestation process that's not dependent on external circumstances. You become the cause, not the effect. Holmes's teachings remind us that the spiritual journey is not about perfection, it's about alignment. You will have days of fear, doubt, or disconnection. That's okay. What matters is how quickly you return to center. With tools like emotional embodiment and spiritual surrender, you always have a path back to your power. These practices are not reserved for saints or mystics. They are accessible to anyone every day. One of the most practical and empowering elements of Dr. Ernest Holmes' spiritual teachings is his view on intuition, not as a mystical gift for the few, but as an inherent part of every person's divine design. Holmes believed intuition is not a backup to logic, but a direct expression of the divine mind moving through us. It's like a quiet internal compass that always points toward your highest good. This brings us to the seventh core insight: your intuition is your guidance system. While reason analyzes and compares, intuition knows. It bypasses linear thinking and offers real-time insight, especially in moments of uncertainty. Holmes taught that intuition is how the divine speaks directly to your heart, often without words. It might come as a gut feeling, a flash of clarity, or a sudden idea that feels unshakably right. But here's the challenge: many people have been conditioned to ignore or distrust their intuitive nudges. We're taught to seek external validation, to rely solely on facts and logic. Holmes warned that when we ignore intuition, we cut ourselves off from a deeper, wiser level of intelligence that sees beyond what the eyes can perceive. To develop your intuition, Holmes suggested a practice of stillness and sensitivity. This doesn't require hours of meditation. It's about being mentally quiet and emotionally open enough to notice the subtle whispers from within. One simple exercise is to ask yourself a question you're struggling with, then sit quietly, breathing slowly without trying to force an answer. Pay attention to what arises. It might be a word, an image, or a calm sense of knowing. Don't overanalyze it. Just acknowledge it and let it guide your next step. The more you do this, the stronger your intuitive signal becomes. You can also strengthen intuition through daily journaling. Holmes often encouraged students to write from the perspective of their higher self, asking what their inner wisdom would say about a current issue. This not only sharpens your inner listening, but builds trust. As you begin to act on intuitive nudges, you'll start to see patterns, moments of perfect timing, unexpected opportunities, or solutions arriving out of nowhere. These are not coincidences, they're confirmation that you're in sync with divine guidance. Holmes made it clear that intuition does not shout, it whispers. That's why creating space for silence, especially in the morning or before making important decisions, is so important. He advised starting each day with the intention, I am open to divine guidance in all that I do. When you align your thoughts with that openness, intuition flows more naturally. Over time, your decisions become clearer, your timing sharper, and your path more aligned with your soul's highest purpose. But what happens when the intuitive answer leads you straight into a challenge? This leads us into the 8th pillar of Holmes's teachings, reframing adversity. One of his most profound insights is that problems are not punishment, they are invitations. According to Holmes, life's difficulties are not barriers to spiritual growth, but gateways to deeper understanding. He famously said, "The problem is never the problem. The problem is our perception of the problem." In other words, the true obstacle is not the event itself, but how we interpret and respond to it. This shift in perspective is life-changing. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" Holmes would urge us to ask, "What is this here to teach me? How can I grow from this?" When you take this approach, every setback becomes a setup for a breakthrough. You move from victim consciousness to creative participation. Challenges become opportunities to apply spiritual principles in real time, not just in theory. For example, imagine facing a job loss. Instead of spiraling into fear, you pause and ask, what new direction is this trying to point me toward? This small change in thinking opens a channel for insight. Holmes believed that every condition carries within it the seed of a new possibility. Our job is to recognize that seed and nurture it with faith action and a willingness to evolve. This turns crisis into catalyst. Holmes also emphasized the power of affirmations in the face of difficulty. When you're feeling overwhelmed, speak a statement like, "This challenge is shaping me into who I'm meant to be," or "Divine wisdom is guiding me through this." These aren't just words, they're energetic commands that begin to reshape your emotional and mental response. They don't ignore the reality of the challenge. They infuse it with purpose and spiritual power. Another essential practice Holmes recommended is reflection. At the end of the day, take a few moments to review the day's events and notice where divine guidance might have shown up. Ask yourself, where did I feel supported? What unexpected gift came from today's struggle? This nightly review not only trains your mind to see growth instead of failure, but also strengthens your connection to the divine. It becomes easier to trust that even in pain, something meaningful is unfolding. Importantly, Holmes never advocated spiritual bypassing. He didn't teach people to pretend that pain doesn't exist or to ignore injustice. Rather, he taught that acknowledging pain while choosing to see it as purposeful is one of the highest spiritual practices. It's the bridge between acceptance and transformation. When you stop resisting what is and start asking how to evolve through it, you align with the creative intelligence of the universe itself. This reframing process also invites humility. Sometimes the greatest spiritual growth comes not from things going right, but from how we rise when things fall apart. Holmes believed that our soul's evolution is not measured by comfort, but by character. And adversity, when met with conscious awareness, forges character like nothing else. When combined, intuition and reframing adversity offer a resilient spiritual framework. Intuition gives you real-time guidance. Reframing gives you long-term wisdom. Together, they create a mindset that is both grounded and expansive, one that can navigate life's storms without losing the deeper sense of purpose and direction. As you develop these two principles, you begin to live less from reaction and more from alignment. You act with confidence, not because you control everything, but because you trust the flow of guidance and growth. And as Holmes taught, a life lived in alignment with divine mind is not just more peaceful, it's more powerful. Dr. Ernest Holmes firmly believed that every thought you think leaves a mark not only on your mind, but on the fabric of your life. This leads us to the 9th foundational teaching in his philosophy thoughts, or the architects of reality. According to Holmes, the mind is not just a container for random ideas, it's a powerful creative engine, constantly broadcasting energetic signals. These signals shape your environment, experiences, and even your relationships. Whether or not you're aware of it, you are thinking your life into existence. Holmes taught that the universe operates on a principle of cause and effect. Thoughts are the cause. Your life conditions are the effect. This idea isn't rooted in fantasy. It's based on the observable truth that repeated thought patterns influence behavior, mood, and decision-making. And over time, these become the invisible architecture behind the visible structure of your life. If your thoughts are grounded in fear, limitation, or doubt, the results will reflect that. But if your thoughts are rooted in abundance, love, and possibility, then life begins to mirror those higher frequencies. To take control of this creative mechanism, Holmes introduced the practice of conscious thought direction, what we might now call mental discipline. It starts with awareness, noticing what you think about most. Are your inner conversations empowering or self-sabotaging? Are you imagining best-case scenarios or bracing for the worst? This awareness isn't about judgment, it's about choice. Holmes insisted that once you become conscious of your habitual thoughts, you gain the ability to reshape them intentionally. One of the simplest but most powerful tools Holmes recommended was the use of affirmations. These are not magical incantations, but deliberate, repeated statements that align your mind with spiritual truth. For instance, instead of saying, "I'm always broke," you might affirm, "Divine abundance flows to me in expected and unexpected ways." The repetition of such affirmations serves two purposes. It rewires your subconscious and reorients your attention. You begin to notice opportunities instead of obstacles, and your actions naturally align with your new beliefs. It's important to understand that this shift doesn't happen overnight. Just as it takes time to build physical muscle, it takes consistent mental practice to build new thought habits. Holmes encouraged starting each day with a set of 3 affirmation statements that align your thoughts with your highest intentions. Say them aloud. Write them down. Feel them as if they are already true. This daily ritual becomes a mental hygiene routine, cleansing your inner world of clutter and replacing it with clarity and purpose. Holmes also emphasized the cumulative effect of thought. One negative thought doesn't ruin your life, just like one cookie doesn't ruin a diet. But patterns matter. That's why consistency is critical. When you catch yourself in a spiral of worry or self-doubt, gently redirect your thinking. Replace the thought with a chosen affirmation. This is not about suppressing negativity, it's about transmuting it. You acknowledge the fear, then guide it toward faith. As you practice this consistently, you'll start noticing small but powerful changes. More synchronicities, improved mood, better relationships, and increased opportunities. These aren't coincidences. They're reflections of a shifted inner state. Holmes often said life is a mirror and will reflect back to the thinker what he thinks into it. When your inner narrative changes, so does your outer world. Now we arrive at the 10th and final key in Holmes's framework: consistency in spiritual practice. While momentary inspiration can spark transformation, it's daily commitment that sustains it. Holmes believed that spiritual growth isn't a weekend activity or something reserved for crisis moments. It's a way of life, a steady, deliberate partnership with divine mind. Just as you wouldn't expect physical health without regular movement or nutrition, you can't expect spiritual clarity without consistent engagement. Holmes recommended creating a sacred routine, a personalized daily structure that reinforces your spiritual alignment. This might include morning meditation, afternoon affirmations, and evening reflection. But more than the structure itself, what matters is the rhythm. Spiritual consistency is like tuning an instrument. You don't do it once and forget it. You tune your awareness each day so you can play the music of your life with harmony and grace. He also encouraged practicing these tools during both calm and chaotic times. It's easy to feel spiritually connected when life is going well, but true growth happens when you apply these principles during moments of stress, doubt, or resistance. That's when your commitment is tested and deepened. Holmes called this spiritual maturity the ability to hold your inner alignment regardless of external conditions. To support this, he advocated for keeping a spiritual journal. Use it to record your affirmations, insights, and moments of guidance. Document your wins no matter how small. Write down synchronicities, answered prayers, and emotional shifts. This process strengthens your awareness and provides encouragement during moments of doubt. Over time, your journal becomes a living testimony to the power of consistent spiritual practice. Holmes also reminded his students that consistency doesn't mean perfection. You'll have days when your thoughts wander or your energy dips. That's natural. The key is to return to your practice with compassion, not criticism. Spiritual growth is not linear, it's cyclical like the seasons. Some days are for planting seeds, others for harvesting fruit, and some for simply resting in trust. Perhaps the most beautiful part of this teaching is that it puts the power back in your hands. You don't need to rely on external events gurus or even favorable circumstances. Everything you need is already within you: your thoughts, your emotions, your connection to the divine. What's required is a daily choice to engage with it. That choice made consistently becomes the foundation for a life that is not only spiritually awakened, but tangibly transformed. When you consistently direct your thoughts and align your energy, you stop waiting for life to happen, you begin to create it. You're no longer the passive recipient of circumstances, but the empowered architect of your experience. And that is the ultimate promise of Holmes's philosophy, that by mastering your inner world, you unlock a life of purpose, abundance, and peace. You now have the 10 keys to unlocking your divine power and transforming your reality from the inside out. This isn't theory, it's a daily practice, a conscious choice to align with the infinite intelligence already within you. Start small, stay consistent, and most importantly, trust the process. If this resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it, apply it, and let it grow. And if you're ready to dive deeper into spiritual wisdom and real-world manifestation, hit that subscribe button and join our community. Your journey is just beginning.